Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at something interesting that just landed in the world of HTTP APIs. It's small, but it solves a problem every backend developer has run into at some point. Alright, I need to ask you a very important question. How many of you have created an endpoint called slash search that uses post, even though absolutely nothing gets created? Come on, don't lie. We all have done it at some point of time. Somewhere in your code base right now, there is probably a beautiful little API that says post slash product slash search. And every time you look at it, a tiny voice inside your head says, this feels wrong, but it works. So let's not touch it. Well, apparently, the internet had the same existential crisis because HTTP has officially introduced a brand new method called query. Today we are going to understand why get wasn't enough, why post become the universal duct tape of backend engineering, what query actually solves, and at the end we are going to build and test everything locally using Postman. So grab your coffee, open your favorite API client, and let's break this down. Get is honestly one of the greatest inventions in software engineering. Simple, readable, and cacheable. Everyone understands it, be it your browser, proxy, or even your grandmother. Let's see, you want products, you do a get, life is beautiful. But then product managers arrive, and suddenly they don't want one filter, they want 15 filters, multiple brands, price range, ratings, and a lot of things. And now your URL starts looking like somebody serialized a JSON object using pure anger. Instead of this simple one query, you ended up having a lot of things like this. And if you ever tried putting nested objects into query parameters, congratulations, you have experienced character development. So, naturally, developers did what developers always do, as usual. We found a workaround. We invented post slash search. It works amazingly well because JSON bodies are beautiful. You can express anything arrays, nested filters, complex sorting rules. Everything suddenly feels clean again. Your request becomes like this, much nicer, but there's a problem. Post traditionally means, hey server, something might change. Create a user, place an order, or upload a file. Right? You are literally asking question. You are not doing surgery. So for years we have been using post for read operations simply because HTTP never gave us a better alternative until now. Why not just put bodies in get, you might be thinking, right? Basic question. So at this point, somebody in the comments is already typing, bro, get can technically have a body, and yes, technically, so can eating pizza with a fork, right? But should we build systems around that expectations? Probably not. The issue is compatibility. Browsers historically assumes get means URL based retrieval. Many proxies ignore get bodies, and that's an issue. Some frameworks stripe them entirely. So even if your local machine works perfectly, the moment a load balancer enters to the conversation, strange things begin happening. And strange networking bugs have one special property. They always happen at 2 a.m., never at 2 p.m. So, to solve this exact problem, HTTP introduced a new method called query. So, this is the official documentation of HTTP query method and the research paper which has been published by Internet Engineering Task Force IETF. You can go through this website, it will be in the comment sections, the link below, and see more details on this new method. So let's come back to our diagram. This is the new query method. So this is a new query method that feels like the gap has been filled successfully. It says I am reading data, but I need a request body. That's it. No pretending to create resources or no big URLs. A request might look like this. query slash products, and the content type is application slash JSON. Similar to post, right? Notice something important. The operation is still safe. Running it 20 times shouldn't modify anything. Your database remains peaceful. Your production team remains peaceful. Everyone wins, at least in theory. Because the real world example always adds another chapter. What's the ecosystem behind this query which it needs to be adapted throughout the software engineering world? But here's the funny part, the specifications exist, the ecosystem is still catching up. Spring Boot needs configuration. Postman depends on versions. API gateways, mixed support. Load balancers, also mixed. The internet is basically a museum of backward compatibility. Once billions of systems agree on something, changing that becomes incredibly expensive. Patch took years to become normal. WebSockets took years. GraphQL still starts arguments in engineering team. Query will likely follow the same path. It's real, it's official, but widespread adoption won't happen overnight. And honestly, that's perfectly fine. Because software engineers trust working code more than philosophical discussions, right? We are going to create a tiny Spring Boot application, nothing fancy, just a simple product catalog, 15 products, an H2 database, and 3 endpoints: get, post, search, and the new query method. Same business logic, and but different approaches. So I've already built an application, a small demo application here. So this is a small demo application which we have built. So I'll open Postman and let's actually hit those APIs. So it's running application currently in my local. So let's get to the traditional get API, right? So I have products get API here. I'm passing brand Apple and page size the pagination. So it comes in the URL as in passing as in params, right? We get our products from this parameters, right? Simple, readable, beautiful, right? For straightforward filtering, get remains the king. Nobody is replacing get. Nobody should replace get as well. Get did nothing wrong. We are just giving it some help when life becomes complicated. So now let's suppose I need more filters. I need filters around minimum price and maximum price. If I add in this params, the URL might look ugly, right? So what I can do as an workaround, I'll create a post search and in body I'll pass the exact same thing. Not in the URL, not in the params, right? So now let's move to the solution most companies use today. So if I hit it, I get the same result, right? The JSON feels natural. The filters are expensive, no complaints. Expect we are still pretending to perform an action when we are really just asking a question. And that's where query enters into the picture. So this is the new query method. So now it in the body we can pass the same exact thing and I've selected query here in the postman. So the logic service stays same and if I hit the enter I get the same exact response. Nothing changes because nothing should change. This is still a read operation. The only difference is that the protocol finally understands our intention, like finally renaming a variable that bothered you for many years. So, what can be real examples for it? Like, suppose e commerce. So, imagine a massive e commerce platform. Users combine dozen of filters, brands, ratings, delivery, discounts, color, regions, and a lot of more things. Trying to express all through URL eventually becomes painful. Query gives those systems a structure, systematically correct way to represent read operations without pretending to create resources. Internally, the request may still hit Elasticsearch, but externally, the API communicates exactly what it's doing. And good APIs communicate intent, right? That's important. So the bigger lesson here is not about just one HTTP method. It's about the change. Software engineering is full of temporary solutions that eventually becomes standard. Post based search endpoints solved a real problem. They weren't wrong, they were simply filling a gap. Query exists because that gap was finally acknowledged. And honestly, understanding why something exists is far more valuable than memorizing its syntax. Because technologies change, protocols evolve, but good engineering instincts stays with you. If you enjoyed this breakdown and learned something new, consider subscribing. And if you ever built a post/search endpoint and felt slightly guilty about it, welcome to the club. I'll see you in the next video.